So in Ezekiel 40 through 48, it gives very, very specific measurements for this temple that Ezekiel says he saw next to a very high mountain. And so it makes sense that one would look at this and say this has got to be a physical place, and I agree with that. However, there are some very, very interesting scriptures in here that indicate that this might actually be a heavenly temple, and I'll show you what I mean, so please just bear with me. But before I start, I want to share with you guys this really cool video that's on YouTube, and it's by Biblioprince. And this person actually made a 3D representation of the Ezekiel 40 temple. And it's amazing. I mean, I haven't gone in here and checked every single measurement to make sure that that's exactly, I'm just trusting that it is what's in the scripture. But so that's really cool. If you want to check that out, I'll leave a link below this video. And this person also does, I think, chapter 41 as well. So I just wanted to share that with you. So it is a very, very specific measurements. But the first thing that I noticed is that Ezekiel is going to a very high mountain and being showed the frame of something like a city. And that's very similar to what John said. He was taken to a great and high mountain and shown the great city descending out of heaven. So the second thing that I noticed was that the man or the angel is referring to Ezekiel as the Son of Man. So remember in Matthew 24:29 and 30, it says immediately after the tribulation of those days, verse 30, the sign of the Son of Man in heaven will appear. Then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will all see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven. So when I investigated the phrase Son of Man, I saw that the word son can also mean descendants, and the word man obviously can mean humans. So are we talking about humans themselves that are returning to earth after the tribulation? Because we also know that, I've covered this in my other videos, so please, I'm begging you, if you haven't seen those videos, please watch them. Please, please, please. I have them all linked below this video in the description box where I go into detail and show you what the words mean. And that the woman is carried to a safe place the woman stays in that safe place for 3.5 years, for 1,260 days. And that the woman is carried to that place at or before the tribulation. And I don't have time to get into the tribulation in this video. I'll talk about it in the next video. But after the tribulation is when the bride comes back to earth. Because remember Revelation 21, up here it says that the bride, the angel, John said that the angel came to him and said, "Come hither, I will show you the bride, the Lamb's wife, descending out of heaven." So the bride is returning to the earth. And like I said, I cover this in other videos, and I give you scripture upon scripture that says that the people are taken to a safe place for 3.5 years, and then they return to earth. They return to earth from heaven at the end. So when it says the Son of Man is coming in the clouds, is it talking about those earth people that have been removed from the earth, the multitude and the 12 tribes of Israel that have been removed from the earth and are returning. So I thought that was interesting that the angel is referring to Ezekiel as the Son of Man. So that's the second thing. And then it starts going into the measurements. And the next thing that I wanted to point out that I noticed through investigation of the words themselves is that when, and this is pretty standard for the Old Testament, whenever you see the word offering, when they are making an offering, what they translated originally to mean a sacrifice or an animal sacrifice, look at those words, because the words mean ascension. There's several different, there's not just one word for offering, but let me go through Ezekiel 40, verse 38 and 43, and I'll show you what I mean. And the chambers and the entries thereof were by the posts of the gates, where they washed or cleansed or cast out or purged. That's the word duach. The burnt offering. So this word offering is olah, which means ascent, stairway, which stems from the word Allah, which means to go up or ascend. So why is it saying the burnt ascension, the burnt stairway? So my thought is, what if, and I don't know this, of course, but what if the ascension mechanism is appears as some type of a light. So when they like teleport to this other place, and maybe it really is like Star Trek or something. How should I know? How could any of us really know unless we'd seen it? But we do have a construct in our culture nowadays to kind of understand what this might be. So is it possible that in the ancient days, when they saw this ascension happening, for example, when Moses ascended to the mountain of God, is it possible that they saw some type of light technology that they didn't have any other word for, and so they just called it the burnt ascension, meaning the light ascension? They didn't have any other word. Maybe. But this word offering, this word olah, which is offering, has been translated to offering. It does mean ascent or stairway. So we're not really talking about an animal sacrifice. We are talking literally about a stairway to heaven. We are literally talking about an ascension mechanism. So anytime you read that in the Bible, in the Old Testament, realize that if you don't have a concordance with you, just realize when it says offering, it's talking about that ascension mechanism in many cases. So verse 39 says, in the porch of the gate were 2 tables on this side and 2 tables on that side, to slay thereon the burnt offering. Okay, the word slay, the Hebrew word is shakat in this verse. It's related to the word nifal, which means to cast out or cast down. And it also means shot out. So in the porch were these 2 tables on this side and 2 tables on that side to cast out or shoot out the ascension, the stairway, the burnt ascension. Again, it's olah. The word is olah and Allah, the ascend. And the chata'ah. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but that means purification. So the sin offering, this word for offering is different. It's chata'ah, and it means purification. So not only are they ascending, but they're also being purified. And the trespass offering is yet another word. It's asham, which means compensation, among other things. So they are ascending, being purified, and being compensated. And at the side without, as one goeth up to the entry of the north gate, were 2 tables, and on the other side which was at the porch of the gate, were 2 tables. 4 tables were on this side, and 4 tables on that side. By the side of the gate 8 tables, whereupon they shakat, cast down or shot out, their sacrifices. Now this word sacrifices, it didn't give me an option to investigate that word. So maybe they filled that in later, I don't know. But it didn't give me the option. Because this is not a transliteration. This is not literally going into this is using the King James translation. So it's only allowing you to translate certain words. But then it says 4 tables were of hewn stone for the burnt ascension, of 1.5 cubits long, and 1.5 cubits broad, and 1 cubit high, whereupon they also laid the instruments wherewith they cast out or shot out the burnt ascension or stairway, and the zabak. Again, we have this word zabak, which was always translated as sacrifice, because that's just what they thought it was back then. But it also means sacrifices of righteousness. It also means Passover, and it also means thank offering. So is it making a reference to the Ascension and Passover? Maybe, because we know that Jesus, according to what we've all been told, we know that Jesus rode into Jerusalem on Nisan 10, and on Nisan 14 was the day that he was crucified, according to what we were told. And that is Passover. And 3 days later he rose. So, is this making a reference to that? It could be, because it's saying, wherewith they shot out the Ascension and the Passover. Or maybe it's saying at the Passover. Because again, it's not giving us the option to translate the words and the sacrifice. It may have, and maybe it's not giving us the option to translate that because that wasn't in the original Hebrew text, is what I'm saying. So if you actually do a transliteration from the Hebrew, and I have the links below this video in the description box, there are links to the biblical concordances, and one of them will actually allow you to do a transliteration. I think it's called a transliteration, where you go from the Hebrew. But they fill in these words here. But what if this fill in, and I'm not saying it is, but it's possible from how we're investigating it, it's possible that these fill-ins that they did a couple thousand years ago should actually be at the sacrifice instead of and. I don't know that, but I'm just saying it would make sense if they're making reference to the Passover, if they're saying that the Ascension at the Passover, because we know that Jesus ascended at Passover, is what I'm saying. So maybe that's what it's referencing. I don't know. And then it says in verse 23, and within were hooks and a hand broad fastened round about, and upon the tables was the flesh, or the basar. So basar can mean flesh, but it also can mean kindred, or all living things, or mankind, or to bear good news, or to announce salvation of the offering. And this word is korban, which means oblation, which stems from karab, which means to draw near. So anytime you're reading, and I've done studies on this before, anytime you're reading about the burnt sacrifices, you're talking about ascension. You're talking about an ascension mechanism, because that's what the words actually mean. So could it be that this, in Ezekiel, it's being described, the ascension, it's showing us the temple of God and where the people are actually ascending up? Could that be what it is? And to me, I'm looking at that and I say, yes, it does sound like that. I'm going to have to go ahead and make another part to this video because I'm out of time. So I'll start the next part here.